everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tara and I'm so glad that you joined me again. Today we're going to talk about an interesting topic, and that is, you read it right, red flags. So let's get into it. So what are red flags anyway? Red flags are warning signs that indicate unhealthy or manipulative behavior. And one of the biggest misconceptions about red flags is that picking up on those flags means that someone has ill will against us or means us harm. And that's not always the case. It can be the case on occasions, but for the most part, it really is just an indicator that there are some unhealthy habits that this person is operating out of. Unhealthy habits can affect those around us. It can affect our relationships with people we interact with. It can affect our close relationships with our friends and our family. And so it's really important, as I've talked about in other videos, to have boundaries. And boundaries is not just a way to keep people out of our personal space and our circle, right? But it's also a way to protect us. And it is not a way to punish people, right? So one of the most important things to do when you're in a relationship is to look out for certain red flags, because red flags are really an indicator that there are personal struggles that someone is dealing with. And personal struggles can affect us. Some indicators of personal struggles include communication issues. It can include being emotionally unavailable, inconsistency. These are some of the things that we need to look out for in relationships. And it is really important to protect our own well-being while still being compassionate. So red flags are not always about malice. Sometimes it's just about misalignment. Doesn't mean that someone is out to get us, but it could mean that where they are emotionally or mentally is misaligned with where we are. And some of the ways to be able to tell if that's something that we're struggling with in a relationship is if you find yourself feeling withdrawn or tired or drained, and that is somehow attached to this relationship. Recognizing misalignment in a relationship early on can help you to avoid unnecessary pain and conflict. When you pick up on these red flags or on this misalignment, it's really important that you refer to the boundaries that you've set for your well-being and your positive mental state. Any relationship is going to have struggles, but for the most part, it should positively add or feed to your life and your spirit. And if you feel like it's having the reverse effect, if it's draining you, if you feel tired, if you feel sad, if you feel angry, or you feel like you're being held down, that is a big sign that there is misalignment in this relationship, and that is definitely a red flag. One of the hardest parts about relationships is conflict. And when it gets to a point where it's just not feeding your soul anymore, you ask yourself, when is it okay, or when is it right to let this relationship go? That can be really hard, especially when you truly care about a person, especially when you know that this person has a good heart, and you just feel for them and you want to be Captain Save a Soul and fix them, right? You cannot fix people. And when I say fix, I just want to be very clear. I don't mean fix in the sense that something is wrong with you and I'm perfect and I'm going to fix you to be like me. That's not what I mean. Again, we're talking about misalignment. So when you're in a relationship that is struggling due to red flags and you get to the point where you're asking, is this worth holding on to? It's just really important to acknowledge that despite someone's good intentions, this person may not be emotionally or mentally capable of having a healthy relationship with you right now. There are patterns. And so red flags are not only visible in your relationship with that person, but how does this person interact with their family? How does this person interact with other people? How does this person talk to you about other people? One of the most common red flags that we see is love bombing. And that's where you get into a relationship everything is blueberries and cherries and rainbows and stars, and they're just feeding you all of this love and attention. They're almost just feeding off of the happiness that is you. That's a red flag for so many reasons, but one of those reasons is if you're not willing to spend a little bit of time apart and miss each other, how healthy is that for the growth of the both of you? How does that train trust in a relationship? How does that tell you how things will be when life happens? Because life always happens. So those are some things that you've got to be mindful of. A lot of times love bombing comes from us escaping something and diving into what's beautiful right now, right? So that could be my life at home is really boring, but this person makes me feel like there's a reason to keep going. Or it could be that I'm overworked and I'm tired and I'm bored. And when I'm with this person, I feel alive because this is something I can look forward to. There has to be some sort of a balance. Or it could be I just got out of this relationship where I was treated really bad and it really sucked. I'm going to jump right into a relationship. There's a reason why it's always a good idea to take time in between relationships, and not just romantic relationships. This could be relationships between friends. There's a reason, because after each trial that we go through in life, there are lessons that we have to take the time to acknowledge in order to not repeat. So we talked a little bit about recognizing red flags in other people, but how do we know when we are the ones carrying that red flag? Are we showing red flags in relationships as well? And one way to tell if that's the case is to work on communication. And the first part of communication is self awareness. We have to be willing to say, okay, this is a pattern I keep going through, or maybe this is the same type of person that I'm meeting over and over again. These are just some indicators that perhaps there's a little bit of self work that I could do. And maybe once we do that and we address certain things about ourselves, we're able to create new ways to live and new ways to operate in relationships and new ways to interact with people. So it's a two-way street. And again, it's not about saying that this person is or isn't a good person. We just need to stay mindful about our well being. And if someone is draining that, that is a red flag we should not ignore. Sometimes when we try to end a relationship because we see red flags, because we see misalignment, that person may react like, how could you do this to me? How could you give up on me? And I just want to free you from that for a second, because adhering to your boundaries for your well being is not a punishment to someone else. Whether you keep that person in your life or not, it is up to that person to make certain changes. It is up to that person to say, yes, I need to work on this or not. Because you could very well continue that relationship with the promise that they're going to change and they're going to do this. And if they do change, they changed for them, not for you. If they don't change, it's likely because they didn't have to, because you accepted them. And you may have heard the saying before, we teach people how to treat us. And this is one of those, this is definitely one of those things where that's applicable, because if you let them in your life the way that they're behaving or the way that it's feeding your life negatively, why would they change? If they still get to be around you, if they still get all the perks of being around you, regardless of how it is affecting you. So I just want to just free you from that, because as I said at the beginning of this video, red flags is a warning sign indicating that there's unhealthy and manipulative behavior. And that is manipulative behavior. Someone makes you feel like your decision for yourself is a punishment to them. That's manipulative. I just want you to think about that. I want to leave you with that today. And I'm curious as to what examples of red flags that you might have. Put them in the comments. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, put them in the comments. I'd love to have this conversation. I just wish you all the best and be blessed, and I'll catch you